Hi all, welcome to my review of Fast X. This is now the 10th film in the Fast and Furious franchise, and this one is telling the story of Dom and the family taking on the son of the drug lord back from Fast 5, who has come for them for revenge. So I would describe myself at most as a casual fan of this franchise. I think we're well past the peak at this point with these movies. I did really enjoy some of the entries we got in the middle, like Fast 5, Furious 6. I genuinely think those are pretty good movies, just kind of getting that mix right of the action, the group dynamics. The stories were a little bit more engaging, there was some grittiness there, and I actually really enjoyed them. I've gone back to them a number of times. But increasingly from there, they just got more and more ridiculous, stretching believability to unbelievable levels. And you know, at most now I hope to really just get an entertaining 2 hours and be done with it. Anyway, I wasn't really planning to go and see Fast X, but seeing that trailer the other week in another film I was watching, it kind of sucked me in a little bit, and I thought, why not, just go and watch it. Even if it's just a good time, passing the time, I'll be all right with it. And unfortunately, coming out of it, even with those fairly low expectations, it was a little bit disappointing. As well, I'd heard through some reviews that people were saying it kind of goes back to the tone and the vibe of some of those earlier Fast and Furious movies. And I just didn't really feel that after seeing this, to be honest. This very much to me felt like an F9 sequel. It was a little bit better, but honestly for me, F9 is my worst one in the franchise, I think. And just because of how ridiculous it got, how weak the script was getting by that point, I feel like those problems are a lot of the problems we have here, just to a slightly lesser degree. But there's still some entertainment here. There's still fun action sequences, some funny moments, things you'd expect to get out of a Fast and Furious film. So let's first off get into the good. First thing I'll say is I really enjoyed seeing Jason Momoa here as the new villain. I think, because he's got a lot of presence about him, he's got a lot of charisma as a guy, and he just, he's obviously having so much fun playing this role. You can't help but be really entertained whenever he's on screen. And I kind of liked that they went for a bit of a new, darker flavour with this villain. You know how in previous films you have these characters that take themselves very seriously and you kind of totally understand the purpose of why they're doing what they're doing. Whereas with Jason Momoa's character, he's just kind of psychotic and seems to just be enjoying all of the mayhem that he's causing. And I actually think they should have gone full out with that, kind of like that idea of the Joker, just this guy who loves the idea of being the one to bring down this notorious family. And instead they do that, but they also try and tie it back into this is the son and he's just getting revenge for the drug lord from Fast 5. And I thought that was a little bit lame, to be honest. I didn't entirely buy into the fact that this guy, like someone like his character, would be really upset about that. To be honest, but he was just so entertaining, and I think, to be honest, most people going to see this will really enjoy his performance. As we've come to expect with these films, we do get those ridiculous action scenes, and they are a lot of fun. There's one particular one here in Rome where it's one of those scenes that starts off quite grounded and just gets gradually more and more ridiculous, and the way it concludes is absolutely hilarious. It's another one of those Fast and Furious scenes where you're kind of watching and they're about to do something very silly and you're kind of shaking your head like, no, they aren't actually going to do that. And of course they do it. And you get one of those moments at the end of this scene. So it did get a laugh out of me, and I did quite enjoy that. I did really quite enjoy as well the scenes with John Cena's character of Jacob, Dom's brother here. And just because as well, I liked that it was a lot more fun. Because in F9, I really didn't like the character arc they gave him. I ended up just kind of feeling really sorry for the character, and it made me dislike Dom, the way they played that whole story out. So I kind of like here that we got to see a very different side to Jacob, and they're quite fun, the scenes with him and Dom's son. So I just think, something about having a character like this, the way he was fleshed out here, I just liked a lot more. Now, I think my first thing I want to talk about in Fast X is a criticism that I really have for a lot of these later entries in the franchise is Now you know that they will find any ridiculous reason to bring a character back if we've seen them die. You just end up feeling like there are no stakes whatsoever. This film wants you to go along with these huge, ridiculous action sequences. And I was fine with that when you genuinely believe characters that you really like could be in danger, could get hurt, people could lose someone they love. When you really felt like the stakes were real, it gives you a reason to actually care and engage with what's going on. But when you know now they're not going to do that, this family are completely untouchable. Nobody's going to get hurt. No one's going to die. And if anyone does, they're going to be coming back. And that for me just takes away any reason you had to care about what's going on. And the problem is with that is when you know they're not going to take the risk of doing that, you end up just feeling a little bit bored through the film. And it's a real shame because it's such a small fix. If you just kept a more gritty element to these and make it feel like there's a real sense that these characters could at various points be in danger, it would really have probably brought this film up a whole star for me. I won't go into any spoilers here, but the whole ending of this film effectively leaves you on a cliffhanger. And that would probably be effective if you actually believe for a second that these characters were in danger, but I just know they aren't. So, the cliffhanger ends up just not having its intended effect, which is a real shame. I feel like a lot of the grittiness from those earlier films is really lost here because so much of the action, as big and over the top as it is, a lot of it feels like it's kind of played for laughs. And if they wanted to make it a full-on comedy, that's one thing. I think Hobbs and Shaw, for example, kind of succeeds better for that reason, in that it feels more like a comedy with some action thrown in there, and it's kind of more self-aware. Whereas this film does feel like it's still taking itself quite seriously. So, when it's falling into that trap of what a lot of superhero movies are doing, where they're constantly inserting these one-liners and silly moments of comedy when there should be actual tension, it kind of ruins what could be good moments in the film. If I'm being honest too, the story is pretty weak here. Just kind of going back, copying what they did with the Jason Statham character. Another family member that comes out of the woodwork for revenge for something that all of this group have done over the years. But the problem being with this one, that even though it was a simple and seemingly quite focused story, you end up feeling like this movie is quite overstuffed with just random stuff going on. There's a lot of characters in here, a lot of very, very small subplots going on. So that even though it is a simple script, just 2 days after having seen the film, I'm already having quite a hard time remembering what was actually going on, other than everything where Jason Momoa's character was there taking on the family. And actually, the last good thing I will say is, if you do end up seeing this, definitely stay for the credits, because there is an after credit scene which is really good. It was weird actually, when I went to see this, I saw this on Friday afternoon, and it was a fairly small screening at a little cinema in London. So there's only about 10 people, I think, in there seeing this with me, and everybody left the second the credits came up, which I thought was weird. I was like, you've come this far, you've seen 10 Fast and Furious films, and they love an after credit scene, and you didn't stay for it. And it's probably one of the better scenes in the film. So yeah, if you end up seeing this, definitely stay, because I think a lot of fans of the franchise will enjoy that final scene. So overall, my thoughts on Fast X. I think, to be honest, if you've come this far and you're going to see this, you probably know exactly what you're in for. What you're expecting this film to be, it is exactly that. Unfortunately, though, from my perspective, this is not a return to form in any way. When you consider how good this franchise has been at its best, this one to me is a real disappointment. And for that reason, I'm only going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. I think if I'd gone in completely blind and I'd never seen a Fast and Furious film, I think just for the entertainment alone, I'd probably give this a 3. But knowing how easily they could just fix a few problems here, actually take on board some of the critical response to the last few entries we'd had, if the filmmakers did that, we'd have a much better movie here. But unfortunately, as it it is, they're kind of repeating a lot of those same mistakes again. So I don't really want to go any higher than a 2.5. So thank you very much for watching my review of Fast X. If you're going to see this, please do let me know as well in the comments what you thought of the film. Did you think this was a return to form? Maybe there's something that I'm just not seeing with this. Maybe it just didn't quite click for me. I'm not sure, but I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on the film. Please do leave me a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.